This week on Archery 101, I want to talk a little bit more about RAT, the proper training sequence. Hey everybody, welcome to Archery 101. Greg here. Alright, today I want to talk about, I want to show you, using me as an example, of why RAT is important. Now what's RAT? It's an acronym for how you should train. The R stands for first thing you need to develop is a repeatable shot cycle. Then 2, you learn to aim, and then 3, you tune. Notice that order. R-A-T. Tuning comes last, but a lot of people want to put tuning way up early. You got to tune, Greg. You got to tune. You got to tune your bow. You got to tune your arrows. You got to tune this. You got to be a fanatic on this. Make it fly perfect. You got to do it. You know what? If you follow the RAT, you don't. But how do you learn? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, before I begin, I'm not saying that you should not tune. Alright? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that tuning is beneficial. What I'm talking about is when you should tune. Alright? That's the big thing. Now you can tune your bow, and you can tune your arrows, but you can't tune them properly if you don't have a consistent and repeatable shot cycle. And that's where many of us mess up. We don't have it and we're out there while getting these readings. And then you tune your arrows based on those readings, but then you start to develop your form and your readings change. And that throws us off. Alright? So for me, recently I made big gains in my consistency. I spent the past year or so really spending time looking at my shot cycle and working on me. And it's shown. I made a 25-point jump in my 450 scores. Now how did I do this? Well, I'll tell you the first thing, it wasn't by tuning, I can tell you that. In fact, I haven't tuned a thing in my bows and arrows. My knock point, all I did is put it on there, shot some arrows, they look like they're flying good, that's it. I didn't measure it, I cannot tell you how high up my knock point is. Brace height, don't know what it is. I just put it on there, shot it. If I felt any hand vibration or noise, I adjusted it, but I didn't have to. So I really, again, can't tell you what that is. Arrows. I'm using arrows I already have. You know what? I don't want to keep buying new arrows all the time and fidgeting with them and saying, well, these arrows go with this bow, these arrows go with that bow. No, I want arrows that'll work with everything. You know, it's not about spending money to me. I'm not going to spend money and keep spending money to get better. I believe in the other way. I'm going to work on me. And then when I get good, maybe, just maybe then, I'll spend the money. Alright? So what I've been shooting good. My scores have jumped. I was in the 330s. I'm in the 350s to 360s right now. So I'm feeling pretty good, you know. And you know what? The other day I thought, you know what? Why don't I see what's actually going on? Because I felt that I've really hit that point. I broke the code of my shot cycle. So I did that, and I'm going to go through it with you and see if the results made you smile as much as they made me smile. Alright everybody, before we go further, let's talk about my equipment. The bow I'm using is this bow right here. Bring it around, there you go. This is the Stealth Hunter by Hitman Archery. My friend Eric had me try one, I shot it and I was shocked. First arrows went right where I wanted. I had no clue where they should have went, but they went right where I wanted. And me and this bow, I can just shoot it really well. This is a 30-pound bow at 28 inches. Alright? It has a Dacron string. It's the one that came with manufacturer, which a lot of people slam, saying they don't build good strings. But you know what? It came with it. I'm cheap. I'm going to use it. Little puffy silencers I made on my own from some yarn. My brace height is 8 1/4 inches. My knock point's right there, which is roughly a 1/2 inch from where the level is. So there's my basic setup for my bow, right? Pretty simple. So now let's go to my arrows. So what I did before I used mine is I consulted the charts. I checked out 3 rivers, goat tips, Eastons, Beemans, and I even used the spine selector chart where you put in the information and put it out to you on one of the sites. And every single one told me that this bow right here, this 30-pound bow, should use 500 spined arrows. Well, I don't have any, right? But what I do have is some 600s and some 800s. And like I said, I'm not going to go out and buy more arrows. You know what? I got arrows. They fly perfectly good out of so many of my bows. And by just playing with this, they're flying fine. So what are those two arrows? Well, the primary one I was using, these right here. These are Carbon Express Predator 2s. They are 800 spine, full length 30 inches, and they have 4 4-inch feathers on them, shield cut. My other one is my Go Tip Traditional XTs, 600 spine, full length 30 inches. They have 4 5-inch feathers on them, shield cut. So what I did, my next step, is I went out and I tested them for bear shafting. Let's see how these babies flew. For my testing, I took the boards out on the range. They're just 2 pieces of cardboard, with a line drawn through them and a line that way. So I put it right dead in the center is where I put my arrow, and I marked out 1 inch going left, going right, going up, and going down. It was pretty simple, and it gave me an accurate graph to work with. Now, what I did is I took my arrows, my 800s, I had 2 sets of heads for them, and I shot them 10 times, 4 different ways. I shot the 100 grain first, then the 125, 10 times. Then I did it vice versa. I shot the 125, then the 100, and then finally I mixed them up, where I had them sitting down and just grab it and shot it, whatever it was, 10 times. So I shot 30 arrows total. Now, the arrows I used, my Predator 2s, they're bear shafts. The weight with a half-out insert and a 100 grain point, it weighed 324 grains. Now, with a 125 grain point, they weighed 375 grains. When I shot them, my 100 grain arrows impacted, on average, 9.5 inches high and 6 inches to the left. Wow, right? My 125 impacted 8.3 inches high and 5.9 inches to the left. So that's telling you right there that those Go Tips, these Carbon Expresses are way off, right? But here's the best part. I shot a personal best out of a 450 using these arrows. Take it for what it's worth, right? Next up is my Go Tip XTs. Bear shaft with the insert and knock. They were 278 grains, basic weight, right? With a 100 grain point, they came up to 378, and with the 125 grain, they came up to 403. Now these, the 100 grain impacted 5.5 inches high and 2 inches to the right. The 125 impacted 3.5 inches high and half an inch to the right. So without a doubt, my 800s are too weak, and my 600s with the 125 grain points, just about right. But my next question was, would they fly with feathers? Alright everybody, my Predator 2s with 100 grain inserts with feathers. The full arrow weighs 352 grains. Fletched with the 125 fletched, there was 380 grains. Now these arrows, when I shot them, they impacted the 100 grains, impacted 3 inches to the right and 18 inches high. 125s impacted 4 inches to the right and 18 inches high. So I went from here to there. Amazing stuff, isn't it? Then my Go Tips, fletched with the 100 grain, was 403 grains. With the 125 points, there were 427 grains. The 100s impacted center. I mean, almost everyone was on that line, but they were 16 inches high. 125s impacted 1 inch to the right, but 16 inches high. So I pretty much knew which ones I wanted to shoot. Although the bear shafts showed it to be the 125s, when I put feathers on them, it changed it a little bit. So I went with the 100 grains. But I wasn't done. I wanted to shoot them both, right? With feathers on it. And I was playing with them and shooting them at the 450 target. And this is what I found. With my Predator 2s, I would move 10 notches down on my tab for a basic crawl. So what I wanted is I want my arrow on the target. And that's for another video, but it's a really neat little thing that I found is I can almost shoot instinctive. It really is, with a crawl. Because I pull back, I just look at the target, with the crawl, and boom, I'm shooting really well. It's amazing stuff. So I'm 10 inches down on my tab, right? The arrow is on the outside of the red at 8 o'clock. Now I know people say, well, it should be underneath it. Not for me. When I put it underneath it, my arrows are impacting to the right. For me, when I put it off to the 8 o'clock, when I draw, my mind just said, man, that is nice. My mind just knows it's right. It relaxes, I can focus and let it go, and I was shooting really well like that. So being off of that side at 8 o'clock on the red, that was the perfect sight picture for me. So I went and did my GTs, did the same ones, and they wouldn't hit in the same spot. So instead of going 10 notches, I went down to 6 notches on my tab, right? And I put the arrow in line with the yellow on the inside of the red at 9 o'clock, just off to the side. And then line up, and boom, I was shooting really good. Actually, I set a record for the most X's that I ever got. And I shot my first 30, 310s in a row. So I know how it works, but I set it up to work off of my sight picture. And that's a big key to me. All right, everybody, so I did all my testing. I found out that my arrows are not the right arrows, but I can make them work if I just play with them and work with me. With these arrows, which are incorrectly spined now, I have been shooting in the 350 to 360 range out of 450 consistently. You know what? These arrows work for me. And for me, that's all I care about, right? That's what I found. What I found is that my form has more impact on my shooting than anything can do about my arrows or my bow. Now, I'm not saying you have a bow way out of whack tune. Let's not take this to extremes, everybody. Those of you watching already type in before I finish talking, right? If you got a reasonably tuned bow with a reasonably set up group of arrows, you're not going to find a whole lot of difference. Now, if you take bows that are badly out of tune and arrows that ain't even made for it, yeah, okay. But how many people do that? Reasonably tuned, right? Reasonably compatible, and you'll be fine. And that's what I've been trying to say this whole time, is for those of you, not you guys that are already experts, it's telling me how to do things, or tell me that I'm wrong, you're much more advanced. I am talking to those that are beginners that don't have their shot psycho down. Right? What I'm saying is you can still shoot decent without perfectly tuned gear at this point in your training. Right? Don't stress about tuning everything. You're not going to get a good tune if you don't have a repeatable and consistent shot cycle. All right? Work on you and work on your gear. Remember, RAT, repeatable and consistent shot cycle. Then you learn to aim, whether it's instinctive or whatever. So if you're shooting instinctive, I don't aim, I understand. But when you're doing the RAT, you got your repeatable shot cycle, then when it comes time to aim, that's when you get the sight picture that you want. By staring at it, your mind's going to figure out. Because when your arrows start hitting the same spot, your mind can figure it out. If you put one arrow here, next arrow here, next arrow here, next arrow here, your mind can't figure that out. But if you start putting arrows here, your mind's going to say, slight adjustment, and let it go. So once you start getting those better groups, better consistency, that's when you tune. Go look at your equipment. Stress over it if you so desire. I'm not. Me, I'm happy with how these arrows shoot. I can shoot pretty much the same scores with an 800, which is badly out of whack. My 600s, which are semi-tuned, they're what I call close enough tuned. Right? And I'm happy to shoot with them. And I'm going to keep shooting with them because I'm not going to go out and buy more arrows. These babies aren't cheap. And I don't want to keep spending money. I have other things I got to spend money on in life. Yes, probably you do too. Right? All right, sorry about the little rant there. But I'm just trying to get that point across. Boys and girls, don't panic about tuning if you're in the beginner stages. If you're an advanced shooter, fine. Tune all you want. But me, I'm happy with how I'm shooting now. I'm going to work on me, and I'm not going to stress so much about my equipment. And I think that will benefit you as much as it's benefit me. All right, there it is, boys and girls. Work RAT. Showed you my application of it. I shot well. I tested and found out my gear is totally out of whack. But somehow I can shoot well with it. Right? Now imagine what I do when I really get my form down and then I start to tune. And that's what I'm really talking about. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you next time with an all new episode of Archery 101.